my train of thought. I have to cut that bad boy out because I lost my train of thought. Okay. I received your lesson plan, and I see that we're moving on to context clues, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What are your learning targets specifically for this section of this lesson?
So the target that I have in mind for my student, with this being in like the word work section, is to continue practicing using context clues in order to make inferences of words, to really create meaning. I put this in word work because we're really going to be focusing on looking at vocabulary words in context that the student might see that are unfamiliar. So by using the strategy that I'll be talking about, I'm hoping that my student will be able to identify words using the context clues rather than having to look them up every time he doesn't know a specific word.
Could you elaborate a little bit more about how you decided to move into this word work skill?
Yeah, so thinking back to my the original data I collected, it seemed that my student has some trouble with inferential comprehension. And I think that some of the, from his responses from some of the text, that some vocab words might be throwing him off when he's reading, which make it harder for him to make meaning of the text. So by using a strategy, I began this week using context clues, really heavy. I showed him 4 types, synonyms, antonyms, examples, explanations. So we've been practicing using those 4 to identify words in context. With this strategy, the LPR3, it's a mnemonic device for you look, locate, you predict, and then you're going to use some resources in the text, some reading skills, and you're going to respond to it. And if not, then the third R stands for redo. So he'll be redoing the strategy again, just trying to go back and figure out the word from the meaning in the text.
Okay. I'm curious to know a little bit more about this strategy. Will it, does it parallel or is similar to the comprehension strategy, stop and jot, that you were using? I mean, I know he's not going to write, but how are these two similar with the skill of inferencing?
So the way that these two are really similar with each other, the stop and jot is more, kind of to stop and think about what we're reading. But the student could also apply that to, the new words that they're saying. So if they are unfamiliar with a word, this gives them, a chance to briefly look at the word, try to make a prediction, look around the text for clues, and then if not, they have that choice of either, redoing the process or trying to figure out another way to find the meaning of the word.
Okay. What would this lesson look like if you needed to make any adjustments based on your last lesson, our last post conference? You said you might want to focus on just one of those stems. Here you are talking about using the 4 ways that you could find context to help figure out the word. What do you think would happen if you came to that situation again during this lesson?
Yeah, so what I'm hoping is through the modeling and the direct instruction that I'm really clear on what this model looks like or what this strategy looks like. And then during guided practice, he's going to have a few sentence stems where he's going to be able to practice with different words in context. And with this, the way I'm going to do the guided practice is I could either add more to the sentence to give him more context or less. So I'll be able to gauge, how much I really need to work on with him. And then he'll move right to independent where we'll be using his independent reading book. And I have certain sections certain sections marked down where he's going to try to use the strategy on his own. From there, if he's still having trouble, I can either, add more to help him with context or give him something where he can maybe look up a word and then kind of think about, okay, what's another word that we can use in context?
Okay.
So.
All right. I noticed that you're using another R.L. Stine book. I know the first time I observed you were also using R.L. Stine. So this is this genre of like this fiction, horror, something that he enjoys, outside of a school setting?
Yeah, so this is one of the books that he, when I did like an interest survey, he noted that he really is into Goosebumps, the Goosebumps series.
Okay.
So anytime I do any like connected reading work, it's been out of this book. So that's where we'll be doing a lot of our inferential work. a lot of our vocab in context. Just because it's a chapter book that's, the chapters aren't that long, and I can monitor and see that he's using the strategies.
Okay. How did, so how will you know that your learning target has been met? Will he have success with figuring out the word using the actual strategy, or are you going to be taking into account his use of those 4 different context clues helpers to figure it out?
Yeah, so primarily I'm hoping that at the end of the exercise he'll successfully have used the LPR3 strategy successfully on his own. I want to see, I'm going to give him an actual, like a checklist, so that, one thing, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, just so he's almost guiding himself,
Okay.
and making sure he's following the steps. So even if he doesn't come to the correct term or define the word correctly, just the fact that he's, taking the steps to really look for context clues is really what my end goal is going to be.
Okay. What would you like me to observe during the lesson for you, data-wise?
Okay, so the one area that I'm hoping to get data collected on is how often am I giving him information after giving him a question, and that what that might look like is I noticed through my first observation, or my first supervisor observation, where that when I asked him a question, I was also asking for a series of questions right after that. So I want to focus on just asking one question and allowing Matthew to articulate his thoughts without jumping in and continuing to prompt him with different questions.
Okay. So, what sort of effect do you think just asking one question and waiting for Matt to articulate his answer, what effect do you see, or outcome do you see from that interaction with Matt? Do you feel Matt will benefit from you changing your questioning?
Yeah, I think he has the ability to answer my questions, and I think this has to do with more my wait time as well, but I think he will be able to express what he's thinking rather than me almost pushing what my thoughts are, what I think should be the right answer. So I'm really going to get a clear picture of what he knows or what he doesn't know.
Okay. So what I'm hearing maybe is that by you asking the question, that maybe you want to tap into a little bit more of his background knowledge, what he brings, kind of share the responsibility.
Yeah, so again, it's almost like that gradual release, where eventually, he'll be taking over, and I kind of want to step back and just be a facilitator without, I want to activate background knowledge and, help him along the way, but I don't want to give him too much where he's dependent on me. So that when he's doing his independent reading, eventually he'll be practicing these strategies on his own.
Okay. So I'm hearing that you are really taking in your criticisms, switching it around, and trying to make it more of a facilitator and a gradual release. So I'm excited to see how that works.
Yes. Thank you.
Trying not to talk so much, so it's
No, you're fine. No, I think
it's
honestly, I think your question,